How's it going, everybody? Welcome to my first place Fire King deck list. There's going to be a couple of other supplementary engines in here that I think you'll find is interesting, as well as various outs to things that might be running around in the format right now. Now, I did get first place with this list, and my friend Drew, who was playing my Draco Tail list, got second place. My record was 4-0 that day. I played against Eldritch, Generator. What else did I play against? It was Eldritch, Generator, something else, and then Draco Tail. Eldritch I 2-0'd, Generator I 2-0'd, the other deck I 2-1'd, and then Draco Tail I 2-0'd. And the deck it definitely stands up in the current meta. The ability to pop the Jurrac Megalo in hand to get you in a board wipe before your opponent can really finish establishing their board is really nice. And then there's going to be some other things in here that I think you guys will find is pretty cool as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get into it. So for the main deck, I am running 3 Garunics. These are going to be pretty standard ratios. 3 𝐒𝐿𝐴, 1 high avatar Garunics, the 3 𝐒𝐨𝐜𝐢𝐚𝐥, 1 Arvada, 1 avatar 𝐒𝐿𝐴. This one you will not see very often, I feel like, and I have a reason for running this, which I will show you here in a second. And then 3 Ponix. Now for the supplementary engines, I'm running a Barrier Statue of the Inferno, 1 Miscellaneousaurus, and 3 Jurrac Megalo. Now, what I mentioned earlier about the 𝐒𝐿𝐴, this bridges you into sending the Misk from main deck, and then you can banish Misk to summon the Megalo, which allows you to pop it with your other available engine cards like Fire King Island and the big 𝐒𝐿𝐴 and so on and so forth. And then that gives you the board wipe by dumping from extra deck and then being able to synchro summon on the opponent's turn. It gets you access to that, but it also gets you access to the Inferno, because you can dump the Inferno from main deck and then make Princess, and Princess can revive this. I didn't really go into this combo very often, because it is kind of hand dependent. You can get to the 𝐒𝐿𝐴 almost like pretty much every single hand, but you have to find a way to be able to protect the Inferno, which was a big issue that I came across a lot of my hands. And a lot of the time you're only going to really be able to protect it if you open access to Island and the quick play spell that pops cards, or you need to be able to put a interruption on the board that can remove another body, like say be able to trigger the Garunics Engrave to summon and then pop a big 𝐒𝐿𝐴 from deck to pop a monster your opponent controls. So I didn't really go into it all that much, but it did win me a game against Generator, because I literally went board wipe, normal Inferno, and then passed, and he couldn't hit over it. So that was really cool. But all of that aside, we're going to continue. For hand traps, I was running 3 Nibiru, 3 Fuelos, 3 Ash Blossom, and that was it for the main deck monster count. As for the spells, I was running 3 Sanctuary, 2 Skyburn, 1 Island. The second Island almost came up. It didn't come up, but it almost came up, because in instances where you do the Jurrac board wipe with Meteor, it removes the island from your field as well, which kind of sucks. So it did make me want to put in another island, but also every single time I did the Jurrac Meteor board wipe, I didn't even need the second island to continue doing my stuff. Because I would set up with like, oh, I'm gonna summon back a Ponix, and I'm gonna summon back the bad Garunics to board wipe those two, so that the Garunix comes back and the Ponix adds itself to my hand on standby phase. So I never needed the second island, but it could have come up if I was in a worse board state, like if my opponent was able to play through the first or second meteor that I'd hit them with. And then I played 3 Dark Hole. This was sometimes hit, sometimes miss, because there were occasions where I would have 𝐒𝐤𝐚𝐥 in hand with 𝐒𝐮𝐩𝐠, the good 𝐒𝐮𝐥, and my opponent would imperm the 𝐒𝐤𝐚𝐥 as I was trying the combo, and it would be the only thing I had, so I would go Dark Hole on my own 𝐒𝐤𝐚𝐥 to trigger the 𝐒�𝐮𝐥 in hand, so that I could continue my combo. And then other times it would just help me clear boards. This was also kind of in here for decks like Yummy, because the Herald is kind of tough to run into in this deck. So this was just for instances like those, but I didn't get to play against Yummy today because all of my friends that normally play Yummy were not playing Yummy that day. So I was like, okay, cool, I guess. And then the instances where it missed were instances where I was going first, and this was kind of just sitting in my hand. And then my opponent either didn't hand trap me or they did hand trap me, and then the hand trap they used made this just not feel nearly as good, like if they ashed 𝐒𝐤𝐚𝐥. And I already had an extender in hand, so I'm just like, okay, there's no point in doing that. So it was kind of hit or miss. I think that if you don't want to play the Dark Holes, this list is 41 cards, so you could cut a Dark Hole and then do like triple Tactics Talent and another Fire King Island if you wanted to. And then the last card in main is 3 Super Poly. Super Poly was really cool all day. Every time I opened it, I used it to clear the generator board. I used it to clear Draco Tail board. I used it to clear pretty much every matchup I played against. If I opened Super Poly, it was just GG's. And it was really nice. It felt really good. And the discard just didn't really come up all that much. So, how we recommend Super Poly right now. As for the extra deck, I was running 1 Underworld Goddess. This was just an out for Lunalight because I was kind of afraid of Lunalight, especially because you don't really have a whole lot of cards in here that can hit over 35 or like 37 or whatever. 1 Zelantis for the OTK combo, which you get to with Phoenix. You make Phoenix and you link out for Zelantis, and you just do Zelantis, bring back cool shit, you know? 1 Princess. Princess is pretty much a thing that you're almost always going to end on, unless you go into the Raging Phoenix because you want to put something in grave. Which occasionally comes up. Like, for example, if you have an extra body with the monster negate you usually summon back off Princess, then I typically go into the Raging Phoenix just so my opponent can't just imperm the Arvada and then turn off Princess, or turn it off so that I can't get Princess in grave without using either the board wipe or the other board wipe, which is the Fire King 𝐒𝐤𝐢𝐚. So sometimes I would go into Phoenix just to put it in grave and get it ready. 1 Sunlight Wolf. This is good for instances where you have to dump like a Ponix from hand and then you need to use that Ponix later for your combo, because you have no other fire in your hand. So like sometimes you have to pop a Ponix in hand for Island to grab 𝐒𝐤𝐚𝐥, and then you use this to add back the Ponix from grave so that you can pop another thing later and then summon it from hand. It's also useful for grabbing back hand traps like Ash Blossom. I also played 1 Hida. This came up like once. I got ashed, and I was sitting there like, damn, I have 2 bodies, but the only thing I can go into was Hida. I was like, wait a minute, I got ashed earlier, so I'm gonna make this, and then I just did the whole combo and OTK'd them. It was pretty good. 1 Anima, you could realistically do like not Link Spider, Link Karibo and or Almirage if you wanted to. My space is kind of tight because of the Jurrac package and the Super Poly package, so I didn't have a whole lot of space to work with. I was running one 𝐒𝐻𝐿e𝐼𝐴𝐻. There was actually one moment where I had to recycle the 𝐒𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐴𝐻 with the Sunlight Wolf, because I was playing against Eldritch, and I needed the 𝐒𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐴𝐻 to continue helping me remove spell traps from the board. So I recycled it with Sunlight Wolf and then made it again, just used it to remove spell traps from the board. And then sometimes I would also use it to pop my own 𝐒𝐿𝐼𝐴𝐻, so that I could go 𝐒𝐿𝐼𝐴𝐻 effect to summon and then pop a card on their field. For the Super Poly targets, I'm running one Garura, one Mudragon, and one Magistus Chirozu. Or Chirozo. This was fine. It hits more stuff against Dracotail than just putting in the Secretarian, and I kind of had to weigh the instances of like where Secretarian would be good versus Chirozo. Secretarian is really good for locking them down and floodgating their effects, right? But there is a very specific issue with Secretarian. If you make Secretarian against them, they will almost always just go ahead and shotgun Femina or Mululu to remove it from board, and the Secretarian is completely useless if they have a dragon in hand, which kind of sucks. So I kind of weighed my options with that versus Chirozu, because this, you can hit more cards by making this, because it just takes a Fusion Synchro XYZ or a Link Monster and a Spellcaster, so it could be like any fusion. So if you're playing against the branded variants, if they have Mirror Jade on their board, you can take the Mirror Jade and then just use a Spellcaster to make this. As opposed to Secretarian, which needs a Dragon and a Spellcaster. So, it definitely came up, and then there's also like this weird thing you can do with it where you go Battle Phase and then you can go like, oh, negate attack, I think it gains attack or like bounces a monster or something. I didn't ever use that, because most of the time I made this, they would just do a part of their combo and then like either bounce this or remove it from the field, and it was just kind of like, okay, whatever. Now for the Jurrac package, I'm running two Astero. I don't think you ever need the third, if I'm being real, unless you're playing the Extrav version, which I didn't really want to do the Extrav version because I felt like running Extrav removes a lot of your extra deck utility that you need for certain matchups, or for certain like scenarios where time's getting low and you need to kill. Like the Jurrac stuff is not going to help you in those instances. And then I was running 2 Meteor. So, yeah. Extra deck was very good. I don't think I would change anything in it. I don't think I was ever missing anything. And I didn't get to play against a Lunalight. Otherwise, I would have definitely used the Goddess. Because this deck, you can kind of pump out bodies really easily, so making the Goddess and removing one threat from the board is pretty simple. Now, if you're worried about outing the second Saber Dancer, I believe it's called, you could just run Doggerans in your side deck, and it would probably be fine. You can get the Doggeran back with Sunlight Wolf anyway, so like in your combo you just go pop Kieran, or pop Kieran. Ooh, actually, can Kieran? I don't think Kieran... No, Kieran can definitely dump the Doggeran, right? It's just a fire. Yeah, send a fire. So you can dump the Doggeran from deck with Kieran, and then add it back with Sunlight Wolf, and then just Kaiju over the thing, and then make the Goddess when you get to the end of your combo. But for the side deck, I'm running one Sacred Phoenix of NEFFEX. This was just for those random back row matchups, because I know that Typhoon was running around, and I am very worried about playing against back row decks, because you don't really have a whole lot of outs for back row without non-engine, and this was something that you could just pop in engine and be able to deal with back row that way. 3 Retaliating Sea. Retaliating Sea I actually opened in game 2, and it sealed the match really easily against Dracotail. I hit him with the retaliating C. He didn't have the Ecclesia to be able to go into Revengeance or the SP to out this. So he kind of just had to deal with it. And he did have the Branded Fusion, so he was able to make Mirror Jade. But the Mirror Jade didn't really matter too much. I was just able to pop it and get it off the board before it ended up becoming a problem. One Ring Bali, I feel like this card is really important, especially for your back row matchups. Or any matchup that is super spell trap heavy, such as Sky Striker, such as, I guess also technically DDD, Dracotail as well. Because, especially against Dracotail, Jesus Christ, like if you play against Dracotail and their first thing is Ketu or Rahu, you're kind of just like, okay, yeah, I definitely need to either Ash this or use a spell trap negate for it, and in most instances it's going to be Ring Bali. There was a point where I actually used the Arvada negate, I brought back the Garunix. I was able to pop something, and I believe I added Ring Bali to hand that way. Oh no, it was Fire King Island. I used Arvada to negate a Femina, and then I used Fire King Island to give me Ring Bali, and then I went Garunix effect, summon, pop, and then Ring Bali effect to special it from hand. So they were dealing with, they had like 4 cards in hand, they drew for their 5th, and they had to deal with a monster negate, a spell trap negate, and I believe I also had the board wipe engraved, so it was crazy. 3 Droll and Lockbird. I did not side this in once, because there were no Mitsu, and no like weird yummy variants, and I also didn't play against any like Memento or anything, so I would definitely keep this in though, just because like, oh, I also didn't play against Lunalite because this card also kind of claps up Lunalite, even though they have like a route through it. I would keep it in. And then 2 Lightning Storm and a Harpy's Feather Duster. I don't have my 3rd Lightning Storm, okay? Don't yell at me. I don't have my 3rd Lightning Storm because who would have thought they were going to bring that shit back to 3? And then for the going... Oh, also, hold up. Also 1 Triple Text talent. I forgot this was in here for a second. This was awesome. I opened this against Generator. Generator drolled me, and I already had everything I needed, so I went, hey, talent, and then looked at his hand, and I ripped out his only playable card, which was the Generator field spell. So it was pretty cool. 1 Goes in Match, 1 Solemn Judgment, and 1 There Can Be Only One. I actually don't think I opened any of those in any of my matchups, which was fine, because I mean I went 4-0, so like, whatever, you know? But in the cases where I had seen them, they would have been very good. Because they all just hit different matchups. Specifically, like, Goes in There Can Be Only One. Like, you play There Can Be Only One against Yummy, what do they do? A bunch of nothing, right? You open Goes in against, like, Dracotail is really good, and Judgment on its own is also just really good. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile. Thank you for watching. Check out my other content as well. I will probably be doing another updated Dracotail profile soon, probably next week. And then I'm going to locals again next Saturday. Yeah, I'm going to locals again next Saturday because they're doing the branded structure stuff, and that's going to be awesome. So, yeah. Take care, you guys. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. See you later.